the tech corporations are, of course, in charge and are responsible and accountable for those technologies, but they're increasingly, we increasingly outsource our systems of trust to those systems. And when we first finished these 5, it's not just that they're in charge of the technologies, but of course those technologies are run on the basis of the business models that we sometimes know, sometimes we don't. But most basically the business models depend very much on data flows and being able to connect data flows to personalized algorithms that can take track of your personal information. Those technologies towards the vis-a-vis the consumers, of course, trust is anchored oftentimes by using terms of use. Now, terms of use, each time you check that box when you download an app and you're going to use it, you check a box, and basically you consent with terms of use that give you access to that app, right? Now, thanks to the GDPR, we are obliged, or at least we have the ability as citizens to make a better judgment in terms of what kind of privacy barriers we're supposed to take and we're supposed to give consent to. But terms of use in itself is a very difficult and sort of gray area in terms of governance model. It's not exactly a governance model, but it's not exactly it's basically a gray area in the law that is being covered by those terms of use. So that's another system that takes care of trust. And then, of course, there's a lot of automated user activity, like think of likes and of ratings. And each time you use an app and you give a like or a rating, you're basically outsourcing a trust system to the technology and the systems that are presented to you. Right? So increasingly we are outsourcing the trust systems, reputation systems that used to be anchored in a multi-layered system of trust that was divided into technologies, governance, regulatory systems, all the way to political systems. I think a lot of these trust layers are now outsourced to technology and some of these the things that come with the technology.
We want to see proof that the big corporations working with our data are trustworthy. And I could go on with feeding your doubts much further. We know that many of the reviews of trust, on the hotel sites, on product sites, all these rankings, many of these reviews are fake. Many entries in Wikipedia are written by subcontractors of PR organizations. We've just had the fake news scandal, and we had Cambridge Analytica on Facebook. So I would say the question is not whether we trust, because we could make a big mistake in trusting. Many people are probably a little bit naive about trusting them. I would say we should be very, very critical. Trust must be earned by performance. And this earning the performance on trust is not great. If you see all the fake news, all the fake reviews, and so on. So I would say also this whole theory of disrupting the law. We are above the law, we don't pay taxes, we don't respect copyright, we don't give a shit about local transport, we just roll out Google, we just do Google Books, and so on. This whole attitude of not respecting parliamentary democracy anymore, because we are above it. Yeah, the theory which is taught at business schools that disruptive innovation is a good thing, and disruptive innovation includes disrupting the law. This is a reason to be very distrustful, because it completely undermines the rules according to which we want to live, which are laid down in our constitutions. We want to live in democracy, where people have a say through the laws which are adopted in the parliamentary process. We don't want to be ruled by these companies, whether they are from here, or from America, or from China. And so I would say, before we trust, we have to be extremely critical, and until further notice, let us trust in democracy, But let's not just simply trust in private companies because they are big and powerful.
You could make use of the notion of ethics by design. It's a big notion, and Lucky is working on that a lot, on how to actually shape ethics by design, building again on the principles, and then which ethical norms should inform ethics by design, and that really places the burden on companies or on their engineers making the software, making the code. You could also say, okay, no, we are going to hold all these companies accountable. And that's the idea of the GDPR, of course, also. If there is a decision being made by an algorithm, then you need to be able to look behind the veil. What is then exactly the input that came up with this output? So that's an option, but if you have algorithmic accountability, you might also need some form of reporting, or at least a supervisory agency. Unless, of course, you trust the market parties, the companies, to be completely fair, open, transparent, etc. in their accountability mechanisms. If you don't really trust them, or not completely trust them, then you need some sort of government oversight to implement algorithmic accountability fully. And then there is, of course, rules and regulations already in place. So my field, competition law, does deal with platform power, but it's a fairly limited focus that it has. So it can police some forms of behavior and give huge fines to big companies, but it's only some forms of behavior. If you want to change that, you might want to rethink the shape of existing laws and existing rules.